I am sure so many of us feel like we are stuck in this loop day in and day out. We feel like we are not moving, but time is running out. However hard we climb, it just feels like we can't reach to that mountain top, and it can feel very scary. But this is what I want you to remember. Sometimes this feeling of stuckness is exactly what we need to create change in our life and move forward. According to me, there are two options. Either you can just feel bad for the rest of your life and think that you're going to feel stuck. The second one is actually accepting the fact that you feel this way and know how to create that change. I have a master's in psychology and I'm pursuing another one in neuroscience. So I have been reading a lot about this and I know a lot about this. I'm trained to do this. So if you want to choose the second option, let me help you. The first step is to allow yourself to feel this emotion. Most of the time, people are even scared to acknowledge that they feel stuck. Once you have a set criteria of societal standards that are already applied to your life, such as you have good grades in college, or you have a good relationship, or you have a good job that pays you just enough to live comfortably, you're not even allowed to complain anymore. You're not allowed to feel stuck in a society. And people often tell you, even when you say that you feel stuck, that you should just feel grateful for whatever you do have. I agree, gratitude is a really good practice and everybody should practice it, but it does not mean that we are not allowed to feel unhappy. All these emotions are placed in humans for a reason. These are there to show you the path about what is working and what is not working. So actually allowing yourself to feel this emotion for a second and saying that yes, I do feel stuck is the first step, because then we know that okay, this is not working, and only then we can fix it. How are you going to fix a problem when you're not even ready to acknowledge the fact that you do feel that way? So actually sit there for a second and be okay with the fact that you feel stuck. Even if you have the most amazing job in paper, if you're not happy, you're not happy. That's okay. Even in theory, you have the most amazing relationship. If you don't feel happy, you don't feel happy. And those are okay. It's okay to feel that way. The second step is actually trying to find the root cause of resistance. What is actually holding you back from letting this thing go? Obviously, as we mentioned before, it might be the society. But other than that, what exactly is it that you feel will happen if you let go of this period of stuckness? Do you feel that you will fail once you let this go? Are you scared that people will judge you? Try to analyze what exactly is holding you back. For me, I would say, I'm saying that too maybe because it might help somebody else. For me, I think it was because I tried so hard in achieving something, and when I get it, I just feel like I'm supposed to be happy because I tried so hard and I put in so much effort. But once you get it, if you actually don't feel that happy, or it just feels like, it's something that you have to check off your list, then I think it does not actually give you momentum in your life. And I feel like that's exactly when you feel stuck. And I want you to actually explore all these emotions, and I want you to see why it might be that you feel stuck. And it can be anything, it does not matter, it can be anything. It can even be as light as something like, what will my boss think? Because I really like my boss. If I leave this job, will they still like me? Or it can go into something much more deeper than maybe you had some childhood trauma that affects you and feels like people will always judge you if you let go of something, and you were taught to never talk about your needs, so it's very hard for you to even acknowledge that you have needs. So whatever it might be, it will be so much easier for you to help you understand why you're feeling this way once you sit there and discuss with yourself what is happening. And I think it can even help if you're journaling or even talking to a therapist about it. And I do one-on-one sessions, so if that's something you would like to explore, we can do that together. But it does not necessarily have to be me, it can be any therapist, or even just journaling can really help you a lot, because this is the only way we can process those emotions, we can understand why it's happening. The third step is to view it analytically. And I know what you're going to think. It's the exact opposite of the first two steps. And that's exactly what we need right now. Because once you acknowledge those emotions, especially if you have not acknowledged it for years, you might do something hastily. You might just leave your job without having like a backup option, and that's not what I would want you to do. So here we are going to view it analytically, but not in a way that, oh, maybe I should not leave that job, but rather we are going to actually see what are the things you do love about it, and what are the things you actually don't love about it, and what are the things you can explore. So I'll give you an example. I am in research, so the things I like to do, I love that I get to read a lot. I get to read a lot of papers, and I love that I get to learn so many things. It's awesome. I know I seem like a bit like a nerd, but bear with me here. The second one is, what are the things that I don't like? I don't like that research in academia can be sometimes very isolating and very lonely. Most of research work is you doing it individually. Other than experiments, almost everything you do, you're doing it in front of a laptop, and it can be very isolating sometimes. And what is the thing like I would like to explore? I would love to explore how to communicate the things I learned in a more dynamic manner. So that is something I would like to explore. So here we have three criteria. So in one, I love that I get to read. I don't like that it can be isolating. And the number three is, I would love to know how to communicate it better. So here, this is very crucial because this is the guideline for our next step. This will actually help us understand what are the things that I can do that makes me feel alive and makes me feel like this life is worth living. Now the fourth step is to break down your list. I want you to break down this list into absolute deal breakers and the things you can still do even if it's a bit annoying. So for example, in the previous example of research, most research is very contingent upon grants, so which means that it can be very unstable. And sometimes your job is purely based on when the grants will come in, and it can feel very unstable. But the work I actually love doing, talking to clients directly and doing YouTube, things like that, they are also pretty unstable. So it is annoying for me. I would prefer it to be more stable, but it's not a deal breaker for me. However, me not knowing that I am actually making an impact in people's lives directly and I can see immediate results, or at least I can see it in one-on-one, I think that is really helpful for me and can be a deal breaker for me. Because in research, sometimes you don't see the impact of research years later. But once you're dealing with clients, you can see a slight change within few sessions and it can be very rewarding. So that is a deal breaker for me. But this is not just for a job, even if you are in a relationship. Let's say you are an extrovert, but you are okay with if your boyfriend is an introvert. That is not a deal breaker for you. But at the same time, if that person is not passionate about their purpose, that can be a deal breaker for you. So break down your list into what are the things you are okay with, even if it can be a bit annoying, I'm okay with doing it. And what are the things that is absolutely deal breakers for you? I want you to break down your list and write it out separately. The fifth step is, how do we actually bring about the situational change? Now that we have done all the self-reflection work, we know what are the things that we love, what are the things we can tolerate, and what are the things that we absolutely cannot do. But how do we actually bring the change into our life? This is very personal to you. I feel like sometimes it can be as easy as taking that leap of faith and having the trust in yourself and your abilities to make it, or it can be as hard as a family depending on your steady paycheck and you want to start your own business. So it can be hard. So I know in online you hear quotes like, you know what, you should just follow your dreams and you should never give up. But life is messy and hard and complicated. You live in the context of other people around you. So it's not easy for everyone to just follow their dreams. All I would tell you is, you owe it yourself to at least try. Even if it takes 2 years for you to save up to finally have your own business and you might have to stay in that job you hate, it will always be so much better for you to try after 2 years once you have saved up enough rather than just give up and never try. I know sometimes it can be very tempting to stay in that relationship because you have invested so much in it, but it will always be worth it for you to bet on yourself and know that you can make a living on your own, even if it hurts. So I think you owe it to yourself to at least try, to at least see whether there is anything you can do right now. And even if it starts with saving 50 rupees per day, it does not matter. Just try something because you owe it to yourself. The sixth step is now, a little later, or never. I feel like when you're doing this list, as I mentioned before, you might fall into the category of, oh my god, I can do this right now. And if you do fall into that category, I'm so happy for you, and I do hope you take that leap of faith. But if you are in that little later category, as I mentioned before, obviously you can start up with saving, but also try to see what are the things you can do right now so you can feel like you are in that path. So for example, if you want to become a full-time artist, it can be a very unstable job, so it can be very hard for you to just take the plunge right now. But look at all the websites that allow you to sell your art for very few amount, like let's say $10, $20. Even if it's a very small amount, it boosts your confidence. It makes you feel like you are an artist. Somebody actually wants to buy your art. And I think it can really help you to be more steady in your passion because you're doing something and you're keeping that spark alive. That's what matters. Right now, even if you can't become a full-time artist, you're doing something to remind yourself of that passion. And that's very important because the never is actually not an option. I just said that to remind you that's never an option. I want you to make sure that you are doing something to keep that spark alive. And I know that you will, because if you clicked on this video, I know for a fact that you're not a person who just randomly gives up. Your resilience is your strength. And I want you to keep reminding yourself of that your resilience is your strength. And no matter what it takes, you are going to keep that spark alive. The seventh would be changing the environment. Physically changing our environment would actually really help, because when our brain is so used to one particular routine and one particular place, it can be very hard to be creative in that mundanity. So what I would suggest is even going to a new coffee shop or taking a new route to work or going for a walk in place that you never usually go to can be really helpful. And I would say even connecting with new people and taking classes and seeing and meeting new people can be really helpful for you to be creative. So a change in environment is one of the best things you can do, because your brain is associating and making new experiences, and that rush of dopamine will give you a surge of new creative ideas. The final step is find small wins to build momentum. I feel like once we are in that period of stuckness, we feel like we need that 180 degree, something huge to happen for it to even matter. But it does not necessarily have to be so, because our life very rarely takes that 180 shift. Our life is a product of all the decisions we make in a single day, and sometimes you don't even see that change happening. Even when you're making that change, you don't even see it happening because it's that small. But once you look back like 5 years ago, you see the product of all the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis. So if you're working towards a huge goal, break it down into chunks, break it down to very, very small steps. And even if it is you want to become a huge writer in 5 years, just reading a book every single day, even 10 pages, or even just writing one paragraph every single day can have a huge impact. So find that small steps to build momentum. And as I mentioned, please keep that spark alive, because that's the only thing worth having. And I promise you, it will save you from this period of stuckness. Keep burning that spark in you. That's all that matters. I really hope you learned something from this video. Please like this video, and your subscription is my small momentum. So please subscribe and comment down below what did you do differently to overcome your period of stuckness. And if you do want to work with me one-on-one, the link is down below. I would see you guys in my next video. Bye bye. Say bye. Bye.